Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to tear down some of the biggest myths in marketing. We're going to challenge those common beliefs and swap out gut feelings for some cold, hard evidence.
All right, let's just dive right in with a quick test. For decades, marketing is run on this set of core beliefs, right? The kind of stuff you hear in every meeting, the things they taught us in school. But here's the big question. Is any of it actually based on real science? Or are we all just, operating on superstition? Let's find out.
Okay, so take a look at these common assumptions. Is differentiating your brand the most vital thing you can do? Is it really cheaper to keep a customer than to get a new one? Is mass marketing totally dead? Now, if you found yourself nodding yes to most of these, you are not alone. That's what most marketers believe. But here's the shocker. The actual data shows that these are largely false. So you have to wonder, why do these myths stick around? This quote just puts it perfectly. We tend to treat marketing like it's pure art, but it's really a lot more like architecture. Sure, it's a creative field, absolutely. But an architect can't just decide to ignore the law of gravity. Their building would literally collapse. So why do we as marketers think we can just ignore the fundamental laws of how people buy things? So what's the most important law? The one that once you see it, kind of changes everything. It's called the law of double jeopardy. And trust me, if you remember one thing from this explainer, make it this one. It's called double jeopardy for a good reason. It's a double whammy for smaller brands. First, you've got the obvious penalty. They just have fewer people buying them. But here's the second hit. Those buyers they do have are also slightly less loyal. They buy the brand less often than customers of bigger brands do. It's a tough pill to swallow, but it's an incredibly predictable pattern.
Let's make this feel real. Take a look at this data from the UK washing powder market. You have the big brand, Persil, sitting at a 22% market share, and then the smaller one, Surf, has just 8%. Now, traditional marketing thinking would tell us that Persil must have built that lead by creating this tribe of fanatically loyal customers, right?
But then, look what happens when we actually measure that loyalty, when we just look at how often people buy. The difference is, well, it's tiny. Persil customers buy about 3.9 times a year. Surf's customers buy 3.4 times. That massive gap in market share has almost nothing to do with some kind of special, supercharged loyalty. It's almost entirely driven by one thing, the sheer number of buyers. So we have to totally rethink what loyalty is. It's not some deep emotional connection that big brands magically earn. It's just a predictable behavior that's a direct outcome of how big the brand is. Let me say that again because it's important. Brands don't get big because they have loyal customers. They get slightly more loyal customers because they're big. It's an effect, not a cause. And that discovery has huge implications. It means we have to question one of the most sacred ideas in marketing, this obsessive focus on loyalty programs, on retention, on targeting only our heaviest buyers. If loyalty is just an outcome, not a driver, then spending all our money chasing it is a flawed strategy from the get-go. So if chasing after loyalty is basically a dead end, how do brands actually grow? Well, the evidence is overwhelming. Growth doesn't come from squeezing more sales out of your existing fans. It comes from reaching more people. Specifically, by getting many, many more occasional or light buyers to pick your brand, even if it's just once or twice a year. And this isn't just a theory. An analysis of hundreds of real-world advertising campaigns found this stunning pattern. The campaigns that focused on acquiring new customers, on penetration, were vastly more successful. And you just have to look at the results for campaigns that focused on loyalty. A staggering 89% of them won no effectiveness award at all. The data is telling us to stop fishing in a tiny pond and start casting a much wider net. So the strategic shift here is crystal clear. The old playbook said to double down on our existing heavy buyers and focus on retention. The new evidence-based playbook says your number one priority for growth is to increase market penetration by reaching everyone who buys in your category, especially those millions of light buyers. Okay, so let's build this out into a simple but really powerful new playbook. If the real goal is getting more buyers into the fold, what are the two main levers we actually need to be pulling?
It really all boils down to two things: mental availability and physical availability. Mental availability just means that when a buyer is in a buying situation, your brand easily comes to their mind. And physical availability is just as straightforward. When they decide to buy, your brand is easy to find and easy to purchase. That's it. Growth is about consistently building these two assets over time.
So how do you actually build this availability?
Well, here are 4 key tactics. First, focus on being distinctive, not necessarily different. It's less about having a unique selling proposition and more about just being instantly recognizable. Second, use your brand assets, your colors, your logo, your jingles, consistently. Third, make sure you reach all category buyers, not just some narrow niche. And finally, and this one is critical, don't go silent. You have to be continuously present.
This last point is so important for building that mental availability. Why? Because memories fade. The common practice of saving up your whole budget for these big, intense campaign bursts that are followed by long periods of silence, it's just incredibly wasteful. It's so much more effective to spread that same budget out for a continuous, always-on, light presence. It just keeps refreshing those memory structures and keeps your brand easy to think of right when people are ready to buy.
At the end of the day, marketing isn't magic. It's a science of human behavior. So the next time you're reviewing a strategy, just ask yourself this. Are we building this brand based on proven scientific laws, or are we just relying on luck? The answer to that question could be the difference between stagnation and real sustainable growth.